Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. How you all doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching me from. So let's talk about this very interesting story. A mother came out to share a story of her mom was sleeping with her husband 14 years ago. She's no longer with the man because of that, and the man was also a chronic cheat. So she shared the story and she told us how she found out. Let's watch the video.
Okay, so this is the story of how I found out about my husband at the time and my mom having an affair almost 14 years ago, right after I had my daughter, and I was dealing with a lot of health issues. So as I mentioned before, my mom was living with us. She was staying down in the basement. Well, after several months of this, she ended up getting her own house. So she was renting a house and it was like a block away from us. So it was still really close to us, and my husband and her carpooled together. So she moved in there and she would visit us frequently. And I still had the same suspicion that I had always had. So at this point, my husband at the time and me, we were always arguing, and it got to the point where we needed to separate. So we all agreed that it would be best if my husband would move into my mom's house that she was renting, and she would move back in with me to help me with my newborn. Okay, so my mom was living with me. He was living in her rental house. They flip-flopped houses. And while she was living with me, we started to get close. And she started to confide in me some things. And she knew that obviously my husband at the time and I were separated. And so she started telling me about all of these times he's cheating on me with all these different women. And she made me promise not to tell him that I heard it from her. So of course I was like, of course I'm not going to tell him anything, but inside I'm like, I got to go confront him. So that's exactly what I did. Even though he was only living like a block away, I got in my car and I sped out of there and I went to go confront him. And he was outside and he was actually bringing some groceries into the house, and I stopped him and I was in my car. He came out to the car and I just confronted him. And I said, hey, my mom said that you've been cheating on me this entire time. And he looked me square in the eyes and he said, well, why don't she tell you what her and I have been doing? And I will never forget the look that was in his eyes when he said that. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to film a part 2.
Okay, there's a part 2 to the story. I just want to leave this commentary. The mother sleeping with the husband, and the husband had to make that confession. Wow. What got over the mom? Why did she decide to tell on the husband? What was she expecting? I think it's karma. All I can see is nemesis, is karma, because I don't know why she decided to tell the daughter that the husband is cheating, because what else was she expecting? Definitely the husband was going to expose them. Let's hear the part 2 of the story.
Okay, so this is part 2 of how I found out that my husband at the time and my mom were having an affair almost 14 years ago, after I had just given birth and I was dealing with a lot of health issues. So he had confessed to this. And after the confession, I flew back to my house and my mom was outside. I got out of the car and she knew. I mean, the look in her face, she was just white. And I got out of my car and I said, I need you to pack your bags and get out of my house. And she said, what are you talking about? What happened? What did he say? What did he do? What are you talking about? And in her state of panic, she said, Mom knew about all this. My grandma. She knew about all this, and I'm going to call her and I'll tell her and you'll see. And I just said, you know what you've done. And she grabbed her phone. She called my grandma. She put it on speakerphone and she said, you know how I told you that Lacey's husband, his name, was hitting on me and he was holding my hand? Well, now he's telling her that we had an affair. Tell her it's not true. Tell her, because I've been honest with you this whole time. Tell her. Keep in mind, at this point, I had never accused her of this. She didn't know that I knew. She was just assuming, right? The truth came out because it did. because he admitted it. And she knew exactly what she had done. And this entire time, my grandparents, who are like my world, who were there for me my entire life when no one else was, they knew that him and my mom were at least holding hands from what she was telling them. And no one told me. Nobody told me. And to this day, my mom will never admit it. She has never admitted it. She's never apologized. In her mind, it never happened. And the best thing that came out of this was that my husband at the time was honest with me, and he told me that it happened. And even years after this, after we had divorced and I hadn't talked to my mom for several years, I would ask him, and his story never changed. He had nothing to lose at this point. He had already lost me. But my grandparents don't believe that it ever happened. They think that he was just saying those things to tear our family apart. But my mom trying to sabotage me didn't end there, because she also tried to take my house from me. As now a single mom with failing health issues, with no job, no career, nothing in my name. And that's a whole other story. And I've been homeless a couple times in my life. And that's why I started my nonprofit. So if you're new here, I also have a nonprofit where we build tiny homes for single moms. And that is what started all of this, because of the betrayal, because of not having a home, because of feeling my entire home, my safety, my security net being ripped apart and shredded, and not having anyone in my support system. Amazing things can come out of horrible things.
Wow, some parents are pathetic. Some parents are demonic, satanic. How can you do such a thing to your child as a mom? How can you inflict pain on your child? I know I've heard stories like this before. All the time I heard such stories, I found it difficult to believe. And I now understand better why some people say they don't want to forgive their parents. Their parents should stay where they are. I know some parents have done worse things, but how can her mom be this evil, wicked? Okay, I would love to give a backstory to her person, who she is, what she's into, because she came out to tell more. So let's quickly go ahead and watch the video, and I'll come back and give my 2 cents on the entire story.
So this is a story of my mom and husband having an affair almost 14 years ago, and I'm finally sharing my side of the story. So I had just given birth to our daughter, and my mom was living with us, and I just knew something was off. I felt so alone. I felt like they weren't there to help me, and I was dealing with a lot of health issues at this time. I didn't know what they were, but it was later to find out I have Lyme disease and POTS. So every time I would stand up, my heart would race, I would black out. And I say this because of all of the trauma I believe made my symptoms a lot worse. And there's nothing worse than being betrayed by your husband and your mother while you just had a baby, while you're also dealing with some serious health issues. It was one of the hardest times in my life, and the affair wasn't the hardest thing. It was the having no support. It was feeling completely alone in all of this. And no one believed me because, like I said, my mom was a narcissist, and she had made up this alibi that was going to support her story because she knew eventually this would come out. So even after I found out about the affair and after everything, I had no one on my side, because even my grandparents, which are the only 2 people that I know that would love me no matter what, they didn't believe anything that happened, because my mom had this story that she had made up that was going to support her side of the story and make her out to be more of a victim. So here I was, just turned 21 years old. I've got this baby. I had no job, no career. I dropped out of school in 10th grade, got my GED, got emancipated when I was 16 years old. My mom and I had always had issues. And that's why I'm mad at myself, and that's why I haven't talked about this for so long, because I felt a big part of it was my fault for letting her back into my life after all of this. And I promise I'll get to the real story, but I want you guys to also know like the backstory. This is very layered and complex. This is also why this is so healing for me to finally share my story, because my entire life, no one has believed me. I've never shared my story because it's not about my mom. This isn't about making her feel bad. This isn't about exposing her or anything like that. This is me getting this off my chest after years of silence.
Okay, she said in that video that she was 21 years old. So if she was 21 years old, then how old was her husband? I believe her husband should be within the same age range as well. So her mom had to sleep with her husband, or her husband slept with her mom, whichever way they had an affair. Then for the grandparents, I don't think they should be blamed. This is what I think. Just imagine them calling her and telling her that, oh, your mom said she and your husband were holding hands. Your husband is flirting with your mom. What do you think she was going to do? What do you think was going to happen? Definitely they would, that revelation alone would destroy the family. In this case, I don't blame the grandparents for not saying anything. I don't blame them, and I think they might have done what they were supposed to do, which is talk to the mom and tell her to stop, not to let that happen. And from what she said, it's obvious that the mom has been selling a different story to the grandparents. The mom has been insisting that all they did was hold hands and that was it. But the husband has been the one insisting that they did more than that. They had an affair. It went down. So that's just the story. And then according to her, she said that her grandparents don't believe what the husband is saying. They believe what the mom is saying, and they think the husband is trying to tear the family apart by telling such a story, given that he's no longer part of the family, so he just wants to shred the family. Do I think that's a possibility? That's a possibility, but looking at how she told the story, I don't think that might be the case, because from her story, she confronted the man and told the man what the mom said. And his response was, did she tell you what we've been doing? That was his response. Did she tell you what we've been doing? So judging from that, I don't think his intent is, I don't know, but I'm just speculating. I don't think his intent would be to tear the family apart by telling such a lie. So I believe what he said, based off of how the story went, is the mom's own story that is shady to me. And one thing I fail to understand is the reason behind the mom telling her that her husband has been cheating. Because if you've decided to tell on people and you have your own skeleton in the cupboard, you should know that the person that has your secret will definitely bring it out if you've decided to go out there and tell other people that same person's secret. So I don't know what she was thinking. Was she thinking that the man wasn't going to tell? So if she was confident that the man wasn't going to tell, so did she threaten the man never to open his mouth to tell? I don't know. Maybe it was nemesis, it was karma. It was time for the revelation to happen. It was time for her to get exposed. That's what I think. It's actually a sad story, and I'm sure we all heard that she said she had to get it off her chest. It's something she's been keeping inwardly. She needed to get it off her chest. It's a very, very sad story. And I believe a lot of people are in this position. People are passing through a whole lot of things in life. Some people, family is not family to them. Parents are not parents to them. I've heard stories, I've seen stories where someone's mom uses them, like the person is a girl, Mom uses them to make money through prostitution. Like, that's bad. How then do you expect that girl to see the mom when she grows up? When she becomes a full-fledged adult? She's definitely going to resent her mom if she doesn't like that pathway, because some people love it. You get what I mean? Yeah, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section. This is a very sad story. We just all have to be careful. If you're lucky to have a good family, be thankful to God. No, it's a privilege. Not everyone has it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and bye.